but I'm
No, I'm just
apologizing.
asking you, Kody, to keep your opinions about me and my friends to yourself. If it's not my business, please keep it to yourself,
Please
okay?
ask your friends to keep their opinions of me to themselves.
It's interesting watching Kody try and go on his apology tour with Meri, and Meri actually holding his feet to the fire. It makes, or it shines a light on why the family thought Meri was difficult, because Meri had boundaries. Meri was able to speak up for herself. Meri was able to question a lot of things, whereas everybody else was just trying to sort of get along for the sake of getting along. So the idea that she called him out was amazing. And Meri is the only person he said, "I am sorry" to everybody. He was saying, I apologize, I apologize. But to Meri, he actually said, "I am sorry." And the fact that they had this back and forth about setting boundaries, he pretended to be naive when he's not. Cody's not as naive as he makes out. So I don't get it. And I'm here for the other wives having the realization that, Cody's not it and is, moving on with their lives, because it's definitely not it. For Robyn to say into the camera, "I tried to stay out of Cody's relationships with the other wives, but now he tells me everything." Please, he's always told you everything. Janelle has already said he leaks like a sieve. So please take several seats. Anyway, hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Sister Wives, Season 20, Episode 14. Hi everyone, compliments of the season. I hope you had an amazing Christmas. Anyway, we pick up with Sister Wives. So we have Kody going to apologize to Meri. I feel like Kody knows that he screwed up when he tried to sort of pull the NDA on Meri, or when he tried to have a go at Jen. And so now he's trying to sort of clear up his name and make himself appear as though he's on this sort of reinvention tour, or he's suddenly had this epiphany and he's trying to do better. No, he's not. He turns up and he says, "I'm in a strange mood because I'm here to apologize, but I'm not sure how this is going to be taken because we've only spoken through her lawyers." And it's like, you spoke to her through her lawyers because Janelle got her to get lawyers. Jen got her to get lawyers. Otherwise, had she not had that, you and Robyn would have forced her into the NDA, and then she wouldn't have been able to tell her story. So the idea that you're making it seem like, this was all out of the blue and you don't understand why she had lawyers and stuff and only communicated through her lawyers doesn't make sense. You manipulated this woman for years, so she has every right to sort of call for lawyers. What I don't get is him going on to say, when I helped Meri move out, we agreed that, we're going to be kind to one another when I helped her sort of move her stuff. So I'm surprised that that kindness has gone out the window, and, she's not telling her friends to back off. I have her friends talking badly about me. And it's like, please take several seats. Take several seats. We are not here for that. You are not the victim. You started it, and her friends were able to sort of pull her out of the mess that you left her in and sort of give her the light. And the fact that they did it on camera, you were expecting to say everything negative and not have anyone else call you out. So the idea that you had Jen and everybody else calling you out is something you didn't expect. And now you're trying to be the victim. You're not. Janelle had a conversation with Maddie, because obviously she now lives with Maddie, and she was saying to Maddie she's planning to go and get a release. She's going for a meeting with the church elders so that they can have this conversation about the release, and she can move on with her life, because Kody, at the end of the day, has found his soulmate, and she needs to do what's in her best interest. Maddie was confused because she said, "I don't quite understand why you need to sort of get this release. What if they say no? What will you do?" And then Janelle was saying, "I'll have to sort of sit down and reconsider and see what else I can do." I think the elders were always going to give her a release, regardless of what anybody else said. They were going to give her a release because there's evidence on TV that the fans have dissected for years. So there's no way they were not going to say no to the release. For Kody to say, "I'm not tracking what Janelle is doing. I'm not tracking whether she's going for the release or not. I think she said it, but I didn't sort of take note of it." And it's like, you did. You did. For him to say, "I tried to get a release and they refused me," he must have gone to the elders before Janelle, as soon as she told him to try and get a release. And they told him, "You can't get a release, but Janelle can come and get a release because you abandoned her. It's not the other way around." And I think this is why he never tried to get a release. And for him to say that shows that he's still spiteful, regardless of him going on the apology tour. Because now, as viewers, we want to know, who was he wanting the release from? Who was he wanting the release from? That's what we want to know. So you have Meri saying, she's going for this meeting with Kody. She doesn't know what to expect. She's sort of questioning why is he wanting to meet her. She's questioning whether he's genuine. So they met up, and Kody sort of. There was this awkwardness because he asked her, "Shall we shake hands or shall we hug?" And it's like, buddy, you were asking her for an NDA. You were saying never loved her. You're saying all those mean things on camera. What makes you feel like she would hug you? Let alone you calling out her friends and having a go at her about her friends. So the idea that you're surprised that she's sort of standoffish with, I don't get it. They agreed to a hug. He said, I want to have this conversation with you so that you can move on, and you can sort of like you're stuck in limbo, and I'm trying to get you out of that situation that you're stuck in. He said, I want you to thrive and I want you to move on, because I'm pleasantly surprised. The last time we met, we agreed that we would be friends, and yet this hasn't happened. Things have been said behind each other's back, and the relationship has been tense. And Meri said, the last time we met at Coyote Pass, I tried to sort of look at you, I tried to sort of acknowledge you, and you didn't acknowledge me. So the idea that suddenly you are saying I haven't been friends with you doesn't make sense. Let alone him phoning her to yell about Jen, because he's already confessed that he spoke to Meri about Jen because he didn't like what Jen was saying about him. And it's like, well, I can't wait until he sees what Janelle's friends were saying. Robyn said, oh, he never told me about his relationships with the other wives while he was still married to them, but now it's a different story, so he tells me everything. It's like, but you told everyone you spoke Kody. So what are you expecting us to believe, that even though you spoke Kody, you never spoke to Kody about the other relationships? Make that make sense? For Kody to say, I wanted to sort of make amends with Meri so that she can move on and she can be happy. I love that Meri always had a sort of a rebuttal, because she told him, I'm thriving, I'm happy, I have a wonderful life, so I really don't need you to tell me anything that will allow me to move on, because my life is good. My life is really good, so I don't need you and your whatever this is, which I was like, oh my God, I'm here for this. Christine and David were sort of trying to convert their basement because they want to sort of create a bedroom and sort of some, I think, space for their children when they come visit. They then went into this conversation about a basement wife. Christine saying, she lived below Meri because Meri had the smaller apartment. So she heard everything that was going on between Kody and Meri, and they were always fighting and whatever else happened, which means when they were intimate, during mommy and daddy time. Obviously, she must have heard that. Meri and Janelle agree that yes, there is a term called basement wife, and that happens in relationships. For Robyn to come and say that's not condoned by our church, Robyn, sit down. Please sit down. Everybody else was a basement wife up until you came in, the princess, and then everybody had to take a second seat back because you were now the princess and everybody else was a basement wife. So don't pretend like, that didn't happen. I love that David said, at the end of the day, Kody was responsible for these relationships. He should have made sure that all his wife felt safe and felt like they were being treated fairly. Christine was saying, in our church, it was sort of a known thing that the legal wife got the bigger wedding, got most of the say on everything, and got to do more stuff with Kody. Which makes sense, because at the end of the day, she is the one with the legal wife. So she is the one that everybody else is going to recognize as the wife. Everybody else can't just sort of rock up today and say, "Oh, I'm his wife today," and then somebody tomorrow, because then it's going to out them. So it makes sense. Christine was saying, she felt like she wasn't treated well. She can't blame it on Meri. Because this had nothing to do with Meri, but more or less their relationship as they sort of progressed. So you then had Kody and Meri sit down for this chat, and Meri was sort of saying that because Kody was complaining that your friends haven't been the nicest. They've been saying some horrible things about me, and Meri said, I'm not responsible for what my friends say. My friends saw how I was treated, and because of how I was treated, this is why they sort of defended me, because they are my friends. They hurt when I hurt. So if they saw something that wasn't fair, for him to go and sit on camera and say, I never loved her. She was very horrible. She was the villain in the story. She this, that, and the other. I don't know why she didn't read between the lines that I wanted her gone, and expect her friends not to say anything is Delulu. It is Delulu on Kody's part. So for him to pretend, oh no, I didn't expect that because the last time we met, we agreed that we were going to be friends, and we agreed that, there's going to be goodwill, but it doesn't seem that this is what is taking place. I love that Meri called him out, and for the first time, this is the first time in his apology tour that I've heard him say, "I am sorry" to someone, because everybody else he was just saying, "I apologize," but to Meri, in the end, he had to say, "I am sorry," because he realized that things weren't working out the way he expected them to work out. I think he expected to come there, provoke Meri, and then storm off, and Meri be eaten alive by the viewers and be the villain that he has been, that is being called out by the fans. And I think he wanted to turn the tables and leave Meri as the villain and say this and justify everything that is done because of Meri's behavior. So the fact that Meri didn't bite and didn't give in to what he was doing was something he didn't expect. And I think this is why in the end he had to say, "I'm sorry." And then he went into this litany of things like, "I'm sorry for saying I never loved you, for how toxic I was, for abandoning you in Vegas." And Meri, I love that she said, "Yes, the reason why everything else happened is because you abandoned me. Had you not abandoned me in Vegas, then I wouldn't have been catfished. But you abandoned me, and this is why I was catfished, because I was lonely, I had no one, and so things happened, and so you can't turn around and blame me when you didn't play your part." So I love that Meri called him out, and then he went on to say, "I've always said, since the divorces, I've said that, if a wife wants to leave, she's free to leave. I'll buy a house, close to me, and then, I'll give her money so that she can look after the kids and stuff." And it's like, you'll buy a house with whose money? With the OG3's money, not with Robyn's money, because at the end of the day, you used the OG3 to buy Robyn a palace, and then once you were settled with Robyn, you ignored everybody else until they left. You used the same, you rolled it out on Meri, realized that it works, and then decided to do the same to Janelle and Christine. And I don't think he expected the two of them to leave. So the idea that they left after he started this nonsense is something he didn't expect. And I love that Meri said to him, "This is not the first time you said this. You said this well before Robyn came into the family. So don't make it seem like it's an epiphany that you had when Robyn came in. This is something you've always said, that, I'm going to be generous, I'm going to be kind to my exes. And so I'm pleasantly surprised that this didn't take place." And Kody, what was happening was every time Meri called him out, you could see on his face that he wasn't expecting it. I think he expected to come in, say whatever he wanted to say, and then storm off, because even Meri at one point said, "I have things I need to say as well. You need to give me the opportunity to speak." "No, it's not about that. I am here to apologize, and this is what I want to do. I don't want a back and forth with you. I don't want a disagreement." And it's like, sir, yes, you don't want a disagreement, but she's entitled to feel how she feels. She's entitled to express her opinion about what's going on. You can't expect her to just come here, sit down, and watch you sort of yappa, yappa, yappa. When you're finished, yappa, 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 and then you can pick up your bags and go home. I didn't like that. I really didn't like that. I thought it was very insensitive on his part. Christine and David were talking about equality in polygamy, and how, one of the wives is always made to feel less than the first wife is the legal wife, so she gets sort of a more say or higher priority in a relationship. And I love that Christine said it wasn't because of Meri. This is how I felt. It's not that Meri did or said anything to sort of make me feel that way. And it's like, wow, for the first time you said something positive about Meri after shading her. So for Christine to then say, "I felt like, I was being judged constantly." Yes, she was being judged. If Kody told her that, "I like the way Meri cooks, I like the way she cleans, I like the way she dresses," it's like, what do you think that is? I feel like Kody enjoyed these wives not getting along. That way they couldn't see his shortcomings. The more they didn't get along, the better for him, because he was able to do and say whatever he wanted. Whereas if they got along, then they would have seen through his act that this is what he's doing. He's just waiting until he finds the love of his life, and then he's going to abandon them. Or that's the impression that I get, because why else would you do that? Kody, on his part, in his confessional, said he never tried to sort of have a pecking order according to the wives. He went to work to get money to pay the mortgage and look after the family, and then the wives were supposed to sort of resolve the issues. And it's like, why make it seem like you're the only one working? The OG3 worked all along. So the idea that you're making it seem like you were the breadwinner and everybody else just stayed at home and was just making noise and just being silly doesn't make sense, because Janelle has owned up that she went to work and Christine looked after her children. So the idea and the audacity to make it seem like suddenly this is not true, I don't get it. I love the very cold out Cody, because you're saying, I just want you to I just want to give you my opinion about what I think is going on with your friends and what's going on with you. And Meri said, your opinion doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. I don't want to, hear whatever you think, keep it to yourself. And so I feel like what Meri was saying to him was, at the end of the day, you need to be mindful of what you're saying in your confessionals. Because if you're saying nasty things about me in your confessionals, don't expect me to be polite to you. Don't expect me to be respectful or kind, because I'm just going to retaliate to whatever you're doing. So if you want to be treated with kindness and fairness, do the same for me. Don't treat me badly and then expect me to treat you kindly, because he has said some of the meanest, malicious, and vindictive things about these wives. So the idea that suddenly is offended that their friends are standing up for them, I do not get it, and I'm pleasantly surprised. We had Janelle go for her meeting for her to get the release. I would be surprised if they denied her the release. There's no way they would deny her the release, because I don't think the leaders of the church need the heat from the fans, because obviously these people are in the public eye. So the idea that they would deny Janelle the release would lead to a lot of sort of commotion of the fans. So I am 100% sure that she got that release from the church elders. Kody and Meri then finished their conversation, because Meri said, at the end of the day, irregardless of what you say and what I say, our experiences are going to be different. I do not regret marrying you. I do not regret being part of polygamy, because it's brought me to be the person that I am. And I hope one day you get that epiphany as well. And it's like, he deserves to. He deserves to. Meri did try to say, you need to make amends with your children. And so for him to kick off and say, this has nothing to do about my children, I think that's the moment Meri realized that this is just for TV and is not being genuine. And this is why she said to him, okay, fine, that's it, we're done. And for him to say, oh, I need to go, I need to run to the toilet, and Kody's intention was not fulfilled when he went to meet up with Meri. I feel like he had this narrative that he was after with Robyn, and sadly it blew up in front of him and he didn't know what to do. And Robyn wasn't there to sort of support him or coach him into saying whatever he wanted to say. For him to run off and say, I need the little boys' room, I don't think so. I think he was so embarrassed and humiliated and didn't want to stay with production. And so he decided to leave Meri with production. That way he could escape and go to Robyn and sort of see how they could re-strategize, because their plan failed badly. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Click on the link in my video to watch my review from episode 13. Bye everyone.